Liverpool must quickly shake off the disappointment of a 0-0 draw with Manchester United on Sunday, because they've got a huge Carabao Cup quarter-final against West Ham coming up at Anfield. Now, I think Sunday was almost a reminder that Liverpool can't really afford to put all their eggs in the Premier League basket. It's going to be really, really difficult to win that this season, and they won't always have things their own way. But also alongside that, you've got to see that the Carabao Cup really is a massive opportunity to get silverware on board early this season. That's not just because of when the finals play, but also because you look around it and Liverpool are massive favourites to win this competition. The likes of Manchester City and Arsenal have already been knocked out. You've got Newcastle and Chelsea playing each other in this round. So as I say, it's a real opportunity really for Liverpool to get silverware on the board if they can keep this run going. The only spanner in the works is that obviously it's such a busy period for fixtures at the moment. Liverpool going Sunday, Wednesday, then they've got Arsenal on Saturday after this big game against West Ham. So some really, really difficult selection decisions for the manager. How does he keep his squad fresh, but also put out a team in both games that they can go on and win the game, particularly after that disappointment against Manchester United? Liverpool need to get a win under the belts and a good performance as well, because they've been few and far between recently, even when the results have been good. So I think this is a really, really difficult selection for the manager, and I've had a go at picking my own team here. I doubt I'm going to get 11 out of 11 like I did in my last one when I picked a team for the Manchester United game. I think this one's a little bit more tricky, but I'm going to have a go. Please do let me know, of course, in the comments whether you think I'm right about my team, or whether you would go a different route, or you think the manager's going to do something completely different. Anyway, I'm going to start off now in goal, and I think one of the easier picks, I think we are going to see Quaveen Kelleher come in for Alisson Becker between the sticks. I think that's an obvious one. Obviously Kelleher, this has been his competition so far this season, along with the Europa League, and I expect that the manager will see it similarly again. It's obviously, it will have maybe a difficult decision to make over whether Alisson plays if Liverpool were to get into the semi-finals, but I think for this quarter-final, you've got to keep Kelleher there, haven't you? And he's, he hasn't really let Liverpool down when he's come in so far this season. So another good opportunity for him to come in and get more minutes under his belt as well. Moving into defence, and I think I'll start with right back, and I think this is maybe one of the trickier decisions. I think this is difficult. Obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold, he played against Manchester United. You want to keep him fresh for the game against Arsenal because he's so influential. So you want to put someone else in there at right back, but Joe Gomez has typically been the backup right back this so far this season, but I'm going to go down a different route. I'm going to go with Conor Bradley in that right back spot. I think that's partly because he did so well in the Europa League on Thursday when he came in against USG. I thought he had a good game there, and he was singled out for praise by Klopp. Some of the youngsters did look a little bit overawed and found it difficult in moments, but I thought Conor Bradley was one of the ones who looked a little bit more comfortable in that first team setting, looked a little bit more ready. And that tallies with what we've seen of him in pre-season. I think he is a really impressive young player who's got a lot of potential. So the fact he played so well in that Europa League game, I think you've got to reward that by putting him in at right back for this one. Now, another reason Bradley starts for me at right back is that moving into the centre halves, I'm going to put Joe Gomez in there. Now, I think you've got to keep Canate and Virgil van Dijk fresh, haven't you? Again, they played against Manchester United. They've got to be the pairing that starts at centre-back against Arsenal, I believe. And so you don't want either of those starting at centre-back. And I think the obvious option, of course, with Joel Matip out for the season, as we know, is to put Joe Gomez in there. I think he's had a lot of opportunities at right-back so far this season, but we've got to remember that he's a top-class centre-half still. Did so well in that position in the past, and also he was a big part of that title-winning side that Liverpool put together under Jurgen Klopp, playing alongside Virgil van Dijk at centre-back. So I think this is a good opportunity if you need to freshen things up, and I think Liverpool do because of how grueling this period is. Then using Joe Gomez at centre-half seems like a good move for me for this one. And then, of course, if you need him against Arsenal, maybe at right back, he'd still be fresh because he didn't play the full 90 against Manchester United, was only used as a substitute in that game. So no real risk to putting him in for this one. And I think you need that leadership at the back and experience, and he has definitely got that. Now, alongside him, one of the reasons you need experience is because I think I'm going to put Jarell Quansah in as his centre-half partner. He's played in both these EFL Cup games so far this season. Again, just like the Europa League, these are really, really good opportunities for him to get some experience on board. And I think as Liverpool move into the Europa League knockout stages, are we going to see the manager go with some of the stronger pairings from time to time? It's going to get a little bit more testing that competition as Liverpool move through it, isn't it? Some more difficult ties to come, and I think in that, so maybe his Europa League minutes may be about to dry up as Liverpool move further into that competition, as I say. So I think the EFL Cup and any chance you use him, which I think this is a huge opportunity to throw him in. I think the manager has to take it, and he's shown, he's played in the Premier League this season, hasn't he, and been impressive. So I think there's no reason not to throw him in against a West Ham side who I think will maybe go strong, but I think Quance has shown that he's up to that Premier League standard, so another good chance for him to show that against that. I expect a strong West Ham side. Now, moving into left back, another one where I think it's a kind of a really difficult one. I mean, one of your rotational options at left back this season has been Joe Gomez, but of course I've already used him at centre half, and we saw Luke Chambers come in the Europa League. Now I think Luke Chambers, I rate him really highly. I think he's a really promising young player, but I don't think he absolutely covered himself in glory in that Europa League game. Did find it a little bit of a struggle, and I think West Ham, obviously that's going to be a higher standard than Liverpool are coming up against in the Europa League, so I think you need a bit more experience in there. And for me, I think it's maybe time to use Kostas Tsimikas. I know he played the game against Manchester United, and I do expect him maybe to possibly start against Arsenal, although that will be a decision the manager will have to make, whether he goes with Tsimikas or maybe Gomez there, particularly if he uses Tsimikas here. But I think you've got an opportunity maybe to throw him in and do 60 minutes, even if you want to keep him fresh for that Arsenal game. Don't want to put too many minutes in the legs, but I just think you need that little bit of experience down that side, rather than putting Chambers and Bradley on both sides as the fullbacks. That would make things a little bit difficult, I think, for Liverpool. So maybe you go Tsimikas here and then you go Gomez at left back against Arsenal. We'll have to see, but I think you are going to need an experienced player in there rather than throwing in more kids. And as I say, if you do want to keep him fresh for Arsenal, maybe you just give him 60 minutes, or maybe even split the halves and just give Tsimikas a 45-minute run out. We'll have to see, but I am throwing him in at left back. Again, as I say, you might disagree, so let me know in the comments. Now, I'll move into midfield. I think it's, for me, hopefully Alexis McAllister is going to be back for that Arsenal game. It'd be great if he could get some minutes as a substitute in this game, just to get him back to sharpness and get that match fitness back into him. Even though he hasn't been out too long, it's just good to get a feel of the ball and the feel of the match situation. So I'm hoping McAllister's back and available, and I think if he is, that's throwing him in straight away as a starter against Arsenal. I think Liverpool have missed him in midfield in terms of his ability to fire the ball through the line. So for me, for this one, if you're using a McAllister against Arsenal, then I think you have to go with Endo for this cup game. I think he's done really well, I think, so far this season. I thought he was impressive against United. In fact, one of Liverpool's more impressive performances in a not particularly overall massively impressive performance. I thought Endo did his job well and helped Liverpool pen Manchester United in, even though they didn't use it. So again, he's shown he's up to the standard, and I think this is going to be it's a tough tie that Liverpool have got. But I think Endo is more than capable of being part of a midfield that wins this game. So alongside him, I move forward into the sort of right and left sided eight now, and the right hand side of that, Dominic Szoboszlai, I think he's not in the best of form at the moment, but again, I think Jurgen Klopp's going to keep him in the team. I think we do see him start the game against Arsenal, so no doubts over his position. So I think that opens up an opportunity for Harvey Elliott to come in. Again, he's someone who started a lot of cup games so far this season for Liverpool. These have been really, really good opportunities, and they're also just good opportunities for him to get minutes in his legs and keep himself sharp, because he's been so vital off the bench as well in other games, and maybe could be vital off the bench against Arsenal. So I think it's a bit of a no-brainer really for me to bring Elliott in and give him another opportunity to shine. And I would say the same of Curtis Jones on the left-sided eight. I think he is the one who needs to start then. You may need him against Arsenal because Ryan Gravenberch obviously picked up that slight hamstring injury against Manchester United, so Curtis Jones maybe looks like a nailed-on starter against Arsenal, but he hasn't played an awful lot of football recently. He's been sort of in and out of the team, mostly used as a substitute, with Gravenberch being ahead of him. So I'd like to see Jones at least get 60 minutes in this game, definitely start it, again, just to pick up some rhythm. I think he needs that, hopefully play himself back into form, because I was kind of surprised really that Gravenberch's been able to nudge him out of the team. So I think this is setting him up to get him in that Arsenal side, and hopefully he can play well and get some minutes under his belt, help Liverpool get through in this tie, and that can set him up nicely, maybe needed for a big run in the team now if Gravenberch is facing even a 1 or 2 week layoff, because obviously the games are coming thick and fast at the moment, so a couple of weeks you can miss quite a lot of games. Now, moving to the forward line and starting the right hand side, obviously that's usually Mohamed Salah in most games, but again I find it difficult to imagine the manager's going to go with him. I mean, he has thrown in a curveball before. He was sort of surprising member of that starting lineup in the game against Bournemouth, and maybe we do see that again from the manager, but it's such an important game, isn't it, against Arsenal following this one, so it's just very, very difficult for me to to maybe see Salah being in the starting lineup for that. And for that reason, I think the only option really when you're rotating on that side, Liverpool don't have a great deal of options at the moment in attack, and particularly on that side where Salah plays. And I think if Ben Doak is fit, then maybe he has got to come in for another opportunity. Again, another one who hasn't completely set the world alight when he's come in so far this season, but we know he's got a lot of promise, and I think this is again a chance for him to come in and shine. Hopefully the fact that it's at Anfield makes things easier for him. Some of those Europa League outings have been away from home, and I do always think that makes it a little bit trickier. So hopefully we see Doak and see the best version of Doak as well, if he does get the chance to come in. As centre forward, I think this is one of the more obvious picks, I'd say, with Cody Gakpo coming in to start. He hasn't started many recently. Nunez has been preferred in that centre forward role instead, and I think Gakpo, he needs starts at the minute, really. Again, it's all about sharpness and rhythm, and I think you need to get him in the team if you can. So I think the fact that he was only used off the bench against Manchester United suggests that he's probably going to come in for the start against this one. Will he contend with Nunez for the starting role against Arsenal? Maybe if he puts in a good performance here, we'll have to see what the manager thinks about that one. And now that only leaves the left-hand side. Now, I think on that left-hand side, you've got to take Luis Diaz out of the team for this one. He still looks exhausted, I think, at the moment. I think he's finding that workload difficult. Not a lot of rotational options for him on that left-hand side. And I think the work he's getting through is really compromising his performances at the moment. I think he's finding it difficult. There are obviously several other mitigating factors in terms of his personal situation that he had earlier this season, and also the fact he's on his way back from basically missing the entirety of last season with a knee injury. So I think it's difficult for him. So I think you need to manage his minutes as much as you can. So don't expect to see much of him at all in this game. And that leaves a vacancy on that left-hand side. Diogo Jota, we would love him to be back fit for this one. Maybe there's a chance that he can make the squad for this, because obviously he's been running now for about a week or so. So it would be a fantastic boost for Liverpool to get him back on the bench. But even if he is available, I don't think they're going to take the risk of starting him. I think you would only see him as a substitute. So again, that's one less option you've got on that left-hand side. But for me, maybe rather than throwing a kid in, Kate Gordon could be in and around it as he was in the Europa League. I think maybe it's a chance to use Nunez, even if it's for a half, even if it's for 60 minutes. Try and play him on that left-hand side with a Gakpo who helps Liverpool get up the pitch. We saw that system work for Liverpool last season. Nunez playing on the left as a winger, but as a striker winger almost, and Gakpo being that Firmino type. It was really sort of a throwback to what Liverpool's front three used to look like. And as Nunez, I think you just got to keep trying to play him and get him a goal and get him some confidence back, because he looks completely bereft at the moment and not really having a massive effect on Liverpool in terms of what they're doing in build-up or, of course, goal scoring or assists. He's been very low-key recently, so I think it would be really good if Liverpool can get him in alongside Gakpo. And I think because you're using Doak, you don't want to throw another kid in to this situation, because I think that you immediately start to weaken the team to a point where it becomes very difficult to see it getting past a very, very good West Ham side with a lot of talent in it, particularly if David Moyes, as I would expect, goes with a really strong team. So I'm going with Darwin Núñez on that left-hand side, maybe a bit of a surprise pick. So that's my selection for the team to face West Ham. Again, please do let me know in the comments what you think. You might think I've got that completely wrong, and I think it is a bit of a risky pick, some of this. I think there will maybe be a surprise pick in there from the manager. We've seen that before in the Cup this season, so I don't think I'm going to get 11 out of 11, but we will have to see. Of course, I'm going to sign off by asking if you've enjoyed this video, do please like, and if you don't subscribe, please do subscribe to the channel. It's such a busy period at the moment, so many games coming. I'll be back at Anfield to do my post-match review from this game, and then obviously it's build-up to Arsenal, and then again I'll be at Anfield to give my review of that match as well. So loads going on, and if you want to keep track of it, the best way to do that is to subscribe. And I want to thank you all for watching as usual, and I'll see you very soon.